So Section 3 of the handbook starts on page 26. It covers instruction for students with dyslexia. In part, it states that each school board must adopt an instructional program that is approved by the State Board of Education. In compliance with this law, Killeen Independent School District adopted the Wilson Reading System. Additionally, our school board ensured that a qualified professional educator was trained to use Wilson and was placed at each of its 45 campuses. The handbook makes it the responsibility of each school to provide every identified student access to the program adopted by their district and to the services of a teacher trained in dyslexia and related disorders. Let's watch a short video from the Wilson Learning Academy website.
Hi, my name is Josh, and welcome to Friends of Churchill. Today I will be interviewing the author of the Wilson Reading System, Barbara Wilson. Barbara, welcome back to Churchill. We are so thrilled to have you back with us.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'm thrilled to meet all of the students and teachers here at Churchill. It's a wonderful school.
Thank you. Originally, you started your career as a special education teacher, working with learning disabled students. What made you leave the classroom and help the Wilson Reading System?
Well, I will tell you, I was working with kids and testing kids and seeing what gave them difficulty, and the number one reason why they were having trouble was because they couldn't read. And we were trying to help them at the school, but what I could see is what we were doing wasn't really helping them.
Oh.
And so what I wanted to do was learn how I could better help them.
I've read that you have trained over 10,000 teachers nationwide in the Wilson program, and they are Level 1 certified. That must feel really good. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Oh, absolutely. And I personally didn't train all those teachers, and in fact, it's almost 20,000 now.
Oh, wow.
I know, and that's because we have trainers, and so we've been doing this for 25 plus years, lots of years now. And so we now have trainers that are all over the country who can also train the teachers.
I know all the teachers here at Churchill are Wilson certified, and I'm glad. I've been in Wilson for 4 years, and I am now in Wilson 9.6. I've been surfing in Wilson for a while. Am I through all the big waves?
That's a great question. Well, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you read better than when you started?
Yeah.
Yeah. How has it helped you?
I can read more fluently, and I don't have to stop.
Yes.
A lot.
How about your spelling?
It's a lot better.
It's a lot better. Well, it is through step 9, you are actually, when you finish step 9, you have mastered 6 syllable types in English, and that's all of the syllable types. So you are through the big waves of the 6 syllable types.
Okay. What is the difference between a certified Wilson teacher and a teacher who teaches Wilson but has no certification?
Well, I think that some teachers who learn about Wilson, as soon as they learn about it, they might say, oh my goodness, I love teaching like this sounds great. And they might be natural at teaching it, but there is a lot to learn with Wilson. So somebody who doesn't get certified might get excited about teaching the syllable types and teaching about the language, but what you learn when you go through the certification is to help kids who really don't learn it easily.
So you should probably be certified if you want to teach Wilson.
That's what we recommend, absolutely. And so that's why it's really nice at your school, where, like you say, your teachers here have been through Wilson, this level 1 certification. You also have many teachers who have done level 2 certification. Mm-hmm. And you also have some trainers right here at your school, which is really awesome.
Why is the Wilson Reading System so successful teaching learning disabled students to read?
Well, research is showing why. And so Wilson Reading System, we created it with three different things, really. One was my understanding and knowledge of what I learned with Orton Gillingham. Two was my experience teaching students using that type of teaching and what I would need to adjust as I taught students. And I taught lots of students how to read using those methods and looking at what's needed. And then three was what reading research has told us. So that some of what I did in Wilson was based on reading research, but then as research continues to tell us, then we can make adjustments and be sure that Wilson incorporates all of those things. And so it's very systematic. It teaches you about the language. You don't have to guess and, try to read words. It teaches you everything about words. And I think one of the most important things is it gives you a lot of practice.
What advice do you have for learning disabled students and their parents?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think that when you're first finding out that you have dyslexia, or when you're first not able to read and struggling and you don't know what to do, it feels overwhelming and you don't think that there's really a solution. And sometimes parents are trying to find the answer and they can't find anybody who really knows how to teach kids the way that they need to learn, and so everything that they try doesn't work. So that I guess I would say there are ways to learn successfully, and it clicks with individuals who have dyslexia. And so if you teach in a way that is the right way for dyslexics to learn, they can do it and be successful.
Please take the time to download and review a copy of the handbook at this time. Thank you.
So once you've downloaded the handbook, make sure that the edition you have is the revised 2014 from Texas Education Agency. They're available on TEA website. Link. You can also get it from Region 10. Should look just like the one that's on here. Page 26, you'll find the beginning of Chapter 3, Instruction for Students with Dyslexia. Gives you very specific guidance about what the components of effective instruction should be. Page 29, you'll find some additional guidance that deals with instructional intervention considerations for English language learners with dyslexia. Page 30 contains some excellent material about research-based best practices. On page 31, section 3, you can find that Bursch states the following about teachers, and that teachers need to undergo extensive preparation in the disciplines inherent in literacy, which include language development, phonology and phonemic awareness, alphabetic knowledge, handwriting, decoding, spelling, fluency, vocabulary comprehension, composition, testing and assessment, and lesson planning. Behavior management, study skills, history of the English language, technology, and needs of other struggling students. Here on page 36, you find some instructional accommodations for students with disabilities. So we're moving into the delivery of instructional materials in the classroom, notes for the general education teacher. And you can see the first thing it talks about copy of notes, but these are bulleted lists, note-taking assistance. And this does not mean that every student with dyslexia is supposed to get every one of these accommodations, but these are instructional accommodations that should be considered by the appropriate committee when we're placing in supports to ensure success for the student with dyslexia. So on page 37, you find access to instructional materials for students with dyslexia. It's a good section to read. Also, notes about the Texas State Student Assessment Program accommodations for students with disabilities. Please make yourself familiar with both of those sections. Page 38 has some notes to consider in students who are enrolled in talented and gifted program and advanced academic placement programs. On page 39, it goes on to talk about legislative action to assist teachers. And page 40 makes some notes about the Texas Department of State Health Services and occupations. And then there's a final excerpt on, or final section on educator preparation program. And that wraps up the instructional guidelines from the Dyslexia Handbook from 2014. One final word about the handbook. Besides the appendixes and everything, I'm sure you've noticed all of the hyperlinks that are in the text. And you can actually download the copy straight from this presentation. And at any time during the presentation that you want to, you can access any of these hyperlinks, and it should, your device should navigate you right to it. So if you're using an iPad especially, every one of the links works. And you can go directly to the Texas education codes that are cited in here, or any of the other references that they cite. So we'll end this portion of the presentation with a short video from the International Dyslexia Association website.
You know, a great story is one of the best reasons to learn how to read. Now, for a lot of kids like Jenna and Peter, sounding out the words was their biggest challenge. Now we'll meet a boy who has no trouble reading individual words, but who struggles to make sense of what he reads. Here in Toronto, 6-year-old Eric Kimber reads like a champ.
It's windy again, he said to Emma.
It's very deceiving that Eric can read so well. He can read the word, but if he doesn't emotionally understand what that word means, it just creates confusion for him.
It's important to emphasize that word-level reading and comprehension rely on very different processes, because there certainly were those pushing the theory that if you just learned to read the words, you would automatically learn how to comprehend. That was the wrong theory.
Kids struggle with comprehension for a lot of reasons. Some children use all their energy just sounding out the words. Other kids have a limited vocabulary, or they may just lack the background knowledge they need to make sense of the story. Eric struggles because of the effects of autism. Now, you wouldn't know it right away, but connecting with the rest of the world has always been difficult for him.
He was inside himself. He didn't really want to interact with other people or other children.
Dr. Stanley Greenspan says that those emotional interactions are the foundation for understanding what you read.
The richer your emotional interactions early in life, the more understanding you have of the world, the easier it is then to have the words that you're learning have meaning. For a 9-year-old to comprehend an abstract concept like justice that they might be reading about, they have to have lots of emotional experiences with being treated fairly and unfairly.
Dr. Greenspan is a renowned child psychiatrist. He spent decades observing babies, including healthy ones like Malika. He's been a leader in the study of the relationship between emotion and intelligence.
Historically, we've always thought, going back to Descartes, that emotions and reason or intelligence were two separate and competing facets of human existence, where the reason controls and regulates the emotion, which is your passions.
Oh, good. See, protest is good too.
But what we've discovered in our research, both by studying human babies, but also by looking at human evolution, is that actually our emotional interactions gives birth to our ability to use symbols and to think, and eventually to be reflective. It's a radically new way of thinking about how intelligence forms.
To tap into Dr. Greenspan's theory, the Kimbers have been using a technique called floor time. The goal is to increase Eric's ability to engage emotionally, which Dr. Greenspan believes can help lay the foundation for improving his reading comprehension.
The beauty of floor time is it has emphasized the role of emotion in learning. The child is motivated, the child is interested, and this is your opportunity to work with language.
My birthday's August 12th.
Oh, you're all born in the same month. In August.
On the same month.
On the same month. But
floor time is just one aspect of the work Eric is doing to learn how to comprehend. Struggling readers need explicit instruction in how to make sense of what they're reading. In Arlington, Virginia, 6-year-old Anthony Sigel has his own struggles with understanding what he reads. His parents turn to Linda Mood Bell Learning Processes for help. Here they teach Anthony to visualize what he's reading, a key aspect of comprehension.
Well, Einstein said, if I can't picture it, I can't understand it. And if we don't have a way to represent what we're reading about internally using imagery, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to develop knowledge.
When you see the boy's eyes, what shape do they look like?
Ovals.
Ovals. Very good. Can you give me a whole sentence?
The program starts at a very basic level where we have a child look at the picture and try to describe it in an appropriate and accurate way.
Can you tell me anything else in this picture that I should see?
He's biting.
Biting? What's the chick biting?
The boy.
Anthony's instructor encourages Anthony to be more and more detailed in his description. His next step will be to describe an image he pictures in his head based on a word given to him by his instructor.
I'm picturing a stop sign in my mind, and it looks blue. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Stop sign, well, it looks red.
Eventually, Anthony will work his way up to sentences, paragraphs, and stories. Even at this early stage, his mom is seeing benefits.
When he's looking at pictures or books or reading with us, he can now look at the picture, understand the words in a way that gives him that gestalt or that whole meaning.
While this intervention is particularly effective with kids who have autism, it has been shown to help other kids who struggle with comprehension too.
The most important lesson that there is in this is that we can stimulate the brain and we can teach an individual how to comprehend and how to process information effectively.
Happy birthday, Dominic! Yay, give me out, give me out!
Back in Toronto, Dr. Stuart Schenker has been tracking Eric's progress.
For a kid that's going through the stages of emotional development, the word apple isn't just the name of a fruit that's round, shiny, and red. It's the name of something that's juicy and makes a yummy, crunchy sound when you bite into it. But for a kid who's not been taken through these stages of emotional development, apple's just a label.
As Eric develops his ability to connect emotionally and to communicate, Dr. Schenker and his team take a look inside his brain.
We now have the technology that we can actually map the child's emotional development against the child's brain development.
They measure the electrical signals that travel from Eric's brain to his scalp as Eric does things that might engage him emotionally, like looking at familiar faces.
And what we can do is process that information and look at how fast he's able to recognize his mother by looking at certain characteristic signatures in the brain.
As he develops the ability to make emotional connections, Eric is blossoming.
All he does is sense the pictures.
And he's begun to find meaning in what he reads.
He's finding humor in the expressions on the people's faces now. It's not just hurry up, get through the book, read the words, go to bed.
And the final flip.
Taking that extra time to point at the picture and point at the faces of the people and all of the little things going on in the background. That's part of the book. And that's what captures him.
Someone knows the buddy scores at the good old hockey game.
You turn the page.